So welcome. Hello, everyone. To kick things off, I want to, of course, welcome you to our Global Virtual Tuesdays Together. I'm Natalie, Senior Marketing Manager at HoneyBook, and my team oversees our blog, social media, and all of the free resources that we create for our community, which is all of you. So for everyone who is new, joining us for the first time, Rising Tide is a community of independent business owners, freelancers, service providers, and creative entrepreneurs who come together regularly to support one another in the spirit of community over competition. We have hundreds of local chapters led by extraordinary volunteer co-leaders and chairs, a Facebook group with over 70,000 community members, educational resources released almost daily, including our blog posts, webinars, file templates. We do monthly downloadables and much, much more, all of which is completely free for our community. Because at Rising Tide, we believe an empowered creative economy will change the world. By elevating the voices of independent business owners, sharing their stories, and building a thriving community, we hope to support you in your pursuit of a sustainable livelihood doing what you love. Today, we are excited to welcome Candice Coppola. I'll introduce her in just a moment, but first, just a couple housekeeping notes to say thank you for joining us live, and to add a little excitement into the day, we're giving away a $50 Amex gift card to an attendee. All you have to do is tag Rising Tide and Candice.Coppola on Instagram stories while you're tuning in. You can share a snapshot of how or where you're joining us from. We know that you're busy business owners, and I'm sure many of you are multitasking. We see you, we celebrate you, and we'd love to see a snapshot of your behind the scenes. So it can be that, or a learning that you get from today's webinar, or quotable moment, whatever it is that is representative of your experience here today. We want to see it, and you could win a gift card. So don't forget to share. And please also keep your eyes on the chat for some pop-ups that will share information about how you can find your local Rising Tide chapter and how to get your hands on one of our monthly guides that you can download for free, and which is full of insights on the monthly topic, which for June is lead gen and conversion. And finally, a note about today's webinar. As Candice mentioned, this one we're putting on today is a bit different. It's unique. It's going to be interactive. You're not just going to learn tips and advice on generating leads and gaining new clients, but you're also going to have the opportunity to talk with other business owners on the call today about tangible best practices you can walk away with and put into action immediately. There will be breakout rooms and a small group exercise, so we really hope you'll take advantage of this and be active and present for those moments. Now, finally, a little bit about our awesome speaker today. We are joined by author, podcast host, business coach, and entrepreneur Candice Coppola, who believes that if you want to have your dream business, you have to become the owner that dream business needs. Candice grew her business from the spare bedroom of her home into a multi-country, multi-six-figure company. So it's safe to say she's navigated the bumpy road of entrepreneurship and has some valuable insights to share with us today. She started her first company, Jubilee Events, during the Great Recession in 2008, brave, and she had no experience and no contacts starting out, but she grew it from there into a recognizable brand and team. Over 12 years, she's worked with clients from all over the world and produced events in excess of $1 million. Candice's work and voice can be seen in many publications, but most recently and most notably in her two books, The White Dress in Color, Inspirations for the Modern Bride, and The White Dress Destinations, the definitive guide to planning the new destination wedding. You may have seen her work in the New York Times, in Style, People Magazine, and Elle Decor. Her favorite color is pink. She's obsessed with all things skincare and Bravo TV. She's always overdressed, and she looks amazing right now. And she now lives in beautiful Barbados with her husband and two pups. You can catch her on Instagram for business advice and tips, as well as island life and houseplants. And with that, I am going to say, welcome, Candice. We are so thrilled to have you with us here today. And I'm going to stop my speech and hand it over to you so that we can dig into today's webinar. So
oh my gosh, what a great intro. Thank you, Natalie. I'm so thrilled to be here. Happy Tuesday together, friends.
I've been a member of the Rising Tide Society for what I feel like is ever, since the very beginning. And I know how important this Tuesday is every single month for connection and growth. So happy Tuesdays together. I'm going to take a moment and just bring up my slides. We have a really fun, interactive experience for you guys today. So tell me in the chat, you can see my slides. You can see my screen here, and then we'll get started. And as you know, June is all about attracting more of your ideal clients through lead generation and conversion. That's what this month is about. And that's just a really fancy way of saying that this month we are here to teach you how to work with more awesome people who can afford your services. And as I mentioned, we have a very fun and interactive workshop today where you're going to take action. So I'm not just going to teach you, I'm also going to help you figure out what I teach you, how it applies to you. Now, I love interacting during webinars and workshops like this. So I want you to use that chat to communicate with each other and me. I want you to use it to network. Emily, it's so good to see you. I want you to use it to network. I want you to use it to share ideas with each other, to give support, to get support from your fellow Rising Tiders from your community, and just to be a participant in today's workshop. Does that sound like a plan? Good. All right. Before we begin today, I want you to make sure that you have a copy of that workbook. I see all of you in there. You will see a link here in the chat. If you're just joining us, make a copy of your workbook, download it to your hard drive, whatever your jam is, go and do that. I want you to also close out your tabs and silence any distractions and commit to being fully present and engaged in today's workshop. Listen, you registered for this. You said, yeah, I want to do that. Then you put it on your calendar. So you made space for this, and your calendar is a sacred place. In order for you to make progress, you need to be present. All right. So please be fully present and engaged in today's workshop. I promise it's going to be worth your time. And also get prepared to jump into some very intimate breakout sessions. So if you need to like zhuzh up your hair or fix your backdrop, make sure that you go and do that, because we are going to go into breakout sessions and have some real connection today with each other. All right. I am Candice Coppola. As Natalie introduced me, I'm a business coach, a podcast host, a published author, former wedding planner. My resume list is long. I've been in business forever. I like to say I've been around since Moses. And I help wedding pros specifically grow their business. If you're not a wedding pro, fear not. All of my teachings are relevant to any creative business. And when I am not supporting wedding pros in their business, you will definitely find me binge watching Bravo. I love me a housewife. Put in the chat your favorite franchise if you're a Bravo fan too. I want to know. And I'm spending way too much money on skincare and handbags. I need to add that to my bio. I'm riding my Peloton. That's a new thing. I'm definitely in a cult. And I'm living my best life in the Caribbean. I moved to Barbados a couple of years ago, and I love my life here. So that's a little bit about me. I want to make sure that you have checked out this month's guide from the Rising Tide Society and HoneyBook. I've actually written an article that you'll find in here that will support you in discovering who your ideal clients are. And this guide is jam-packed, full of amazing strategies, ideas that you can implement in your business. It's an incredible guide. And the best thing is it's free. So you can click on that little pop-up there and go and download it. I have a fun little article in there that will help you too. Okay. Awesome. I'm seeing Atlanta, Beverly Hills, Real Housewives of New Jersey, all very good franchises. Okay, so these are my goals for you today for our workshop. Now, this is going to be in 3 parts, all right? Part 1, I want to teach you the one secret to attracting more ideal clients and how you can convert them into paying customers. Very juicy, very clickbaity, which is on purpose, but also it's going to be really simple. I think you're going to have a lot of aha moments here inside of our workshop. Next, I want you to then take action inside your workbook and jump into some breakout sessions to refresh how you attract and convert your clients. We're going to take action on what we learn. We're going to answer 3 really great questions we prepared for you. And then you're going to go with your peers and just brainstorm and idea generate. Then you're going to come back here and you're going to leave with a clearer picture of how you will implement this strategy into
your business. I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'm going to tell you what your next steps are after I teach you this one secret, okay? And there will be plenty of time to ask questions at the end. All right. So before I share with you the one secret to attracting more of your ideal clients, I want to share with you 2 truths about business today. The first truth number 1 out of every 5 businesses will fail in the first 18 months because they don't know who their customers are. That's a crazy statistic. 1 in 5 businesses will fail in the first 18 months because they don't know who they're talking to. They don't know who they're serving. They don't know who their customers are. That's a really sobering statistic. I've been in business forever. And I know firsthand how much heart and soul you put in your businesses. As a business coach, I see it day in and day out, the money spent, the time, the hours, the highs and the lows. And to think that 1 out of 5 businesses fail because they don't know who their customers are is a sobering statistic. But I also think it illustrates how critical it is that you know who your customers are, who it is that you're talking to. And it's why all the content this month inside Rising Tide Society is so important. Now, I'm sure you're like, Candice, I know who my ideal client is. I wrote this paragraph about them. I did this course. I read this blog post. I listened to this podcast, and I have a paragraph about my ideal client. I know their age. I know their gender. I know where they live. I know where they shop. I know what they like. I know what they drive. I know what their hobbies are. I know my ideal client. Raise your hand if you have a fun little profile like this in some dusty Google document somewhere on your hard drive. I do. This is literally like a copy and paste from my business plan when I started my business. It's literally a copy and paste from however many years ago I started my business. So raise your hand if you have a profile like this. I mean, I think we all do. And as a business coach, I've seen it time and time again. We all have this sort of client profile. And sure, it does tell us some interesting things. You do want to know your client demographics, and you do want to know, like, what's their favorite color? What's their Starbucks order? Like, all that stuff is cool. And it's good to know. I think it paints a picture of a personality. Maria says, I have a spreadsheet. Go, Maria. I think it paints a picture of someone's personality. And for me, and how I've taught my students, you can start to uncover with the question, what does this tell me about this person? Like, so she walks around with a Louis Vuitton handbag. What does that tell me about her? It starts to, get the creative juices flowing of how you can attract this person and what this person might value and what might motivate them. I'm seeing a lot of hands raised and a lot of people saying that they have a profile like this. This profile serves a purpose, and it's a good jumping off point. You've done nothing wrong if you have a profile like this, but there's something missing from this profile. It doesn't tell us why this person is hiring us. We have all this data, all these demographics, these statistics, this information, but it doesn't tell us why this person is hiring us, why they're reaching out to our business, why they want to invest money in our products and in our services. And that brings me to the next truth about business. Truth number 2, your business exists to solve your customers' problems. I know you started your business for so many personal reasons. Freedom, abundance. You wanted to line your own pockets. You wanted to create your own schedule. You wanted to work for yourself. You are creative, you are smart, and you did not want to spend the majority of your life working for someone else. You wanted to do it for yourself. And so your business is here today because you had the guts to start your business. But it does not exist for you. It exists to solve your customers' problems. That's what businesses are here to do. So your business's entire purpose is to solve someone's problem. And if we know that businesses fail because they don't know who their customers are, right? 1 in 5 will fail in the first 18 months. And if we know that the sole purpose of your business is to solve your customers' problems, then I think it's really safe to say that the most important thing you need to know about your ideal client is not their Starbucks order or their, where they shop or like their favorite musician. That's not what you need to know. Those are important and they can paint a picture, but they're not going to tell you what you need to know. The most important thing that you need to know is the problem that you solve for your customer. And that is what we're going to dig into today. And that's the secret to unlocking more of your ideal clients. So if you feel like the leads that you're generating are not a fit for your business, if you're not even generating the right amount of leads, so either they're the wrong leads, you're not getting enough leads, you're not getting any leads, there is just a problem with the amount of bookings you have and the clients that are hiring you. This is going to change how you market your business, how you sell to people, and ultimately how you serve to them. So this is the big fat secret. And here's the funny thing about business strategies and business secrets. They don't always have to be like some super complicated, overly big strategy, under lock and key. They can be this simple. Focus on what problems you solve and what life is like for your customer after you solve their problems. All my students who are in here probably know exactly what comes up next. They know this, and I'm so glad they're here because sometimes you need a refresher to remind you of this. I want you to start focusing on the problem or problems you solve for your customers and what life is like on the other side of that problem being solved. That's the key to unlocking better business. If you can get this right, you will be able to grow a business, and I can guarantee avoid that being 1 in 5 if you're early on in your business, and be successful and have the business that you ultimately desired, at least where the clients are concerned. So you might be thinking, what does she mean when she says what life is like for your customers after you solve their problems? You understand now that you're here to solve someone's problem. That's your customer, their problem. But what do I mean by what life is like for your customers after you solve their problem? Well, there's this fantastic quote by Seth Godin. And if you don't know who Seth Godin is, I would sort of categorize him as like the father of modern marketing. All right. Seth is a really smart marketer. He's written several very popular books that I think should be required reading for any marketer, aka any business owner or entrepreneur. And this is what I think is one of the most powerful business quotes I've ever come across. People don't buy paint, they buy painted walls. My students know this quote. Raise your hand if you've heard me say this before. People don't buy paint, they buy painted walls. And this quote perfectly, as an analogy, encapsulates what I mean by saying you want to show your clients what life is like for them after you solve their problem. When you go to paint your living room, you're not going to Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever you're going and buying a can of paint. You're not buying an aluminum can with liquid in it, like lamenting over the perfect shade of beige. Should we do ecru? Should we do off-white? Should we do snow? That is not what you're doing. You're not going to Home Depot and buying paint and then buying all the BS you have to buy in order to paint your walls, the trays, the liners, the brushes, the rollers, the sponges, the tape, the paint thinner, the paint remover, all of the little gadgets that you have to buy just to paint a wall. That big receipt of all those items at $400 that you spent is not ultimately what you're buying. You are buying that end result, that image that you found on Pinterest. You are buying the painted wall. So your clients are doing the same thing. They're not buying a can of paint. They're not buying a bullet point list full of your product, your services that you send in your contract or send in your sales deck or send in your HoneyBook brochure. They're not buying that. They're not buying 10 hours of your time. They're not buying 3 meetings, 2 revisions. They're not buying that. They're buying the painted wall. That moment where they walk in the room and they get to see that Pinterest come to life, that picture come to life. I want you to get really clear on the painted wall that you are selling, that you are giving your clients, the problems that you're solving for them, and what life is like for them after you solve their problem, AKA the painted wall. I love this quote and I love this analogy because it can help us to visualize what this strategy really is and how you can apply it to your business. So the key to unlocking more ideal clients and converting your leads is understanding the problem you solve and the painted wall you provide. Now, if you're new to business, this is going to help to really supercharge your business. If you've been in business a while, I just want to do a little side note, a little caveat that sometimes your client problems change. or as you change your ideal client, their problems and the painted wall they want change. So this exercise I think is so critical to do like once a year, just to tap in and say, okay, am I still providing the same solution? Am I still solving the same problem? And am I still giving people the same transformation? So important to go over again and again, because things do change. You change. If you've been in business for 5 years, you're definitely not serving the same clients that you started out. You've changed and you've evolved, right? But if you can unlock, or if you can understand what problem you solve and the painted wall you provide, then you can attract, sell, and serve your ideal clients better than your competitors. You can become the go-to for whatever it is you do, the go-to photographer, the go-to virtual assistant, the go-to makeup artist, invitation designer, calligrapher, wedding planner. I saw a credit card processing company. I saw a lot of incredible entrepreneurs inside this chat sharing what they do. You can become that go-to person because you will understand the problems that they want solved. You will understand why it is they're coming to you or why they need someone like you, and what life will be like for them after you solve their problem. You will be able to market your business showing the painted wall. That will be the cornerstone of the crux of all the marketing that you do. All the reels you create, all the Instagram posts, the stories, the blog posts, the SEO, the TikTok, the networking that you do will all hinge on this painted wall. You will then sell them this painted wall in your sales process, and maybe some of the end cap stuff like Home Depot, some extra add-ons, a la carte items, the bells and the whistles, the special gadgets. And you will create, and this is the most important part of this, in my opinion, is you will create products and services that give them the painted wall, the transformation, meaning like you will deliver on what you promise, which I know is so important to you as an entrepreneur. You don't just want to get people's money in the door and then, not serve them. You will serve them in the ways that they desire and in what they need. So this is the big secret, and this is what we are going to be working on in your workbook. So I want to make sure that your workbook is open. Open up that tab, get your workbook going, and let's take some action together to uncover the transformation you provide your clients, aka the painted wall. Sometimes it's really hard to visualize what this is, like what the problems are that you solve for your clients, especially for my wedding pros here who are like in the business of happy. You're like, my clients are problems. I don't know what problems I might solve for them. And so it can be difficult to kind of like suss this out. And that's why I wanted to do a workshop style. So I've got 3 questions that I want you to answer. Get that workbook open and we're going to get started. I'm going to take a little sip of water. And we're going to get started. Okay. So the first question I want you to answer is to put yourself in your ideal client's shoes. This is the person that you ultimately want to serve or that you're currently serving and you desire to continue serving. So let me put a caveat around this. If you're in business right now and you're not serving the right people and you want to move away from the clients you're serving and maybe graduate to a different type of client, I want you to put yourself in the ideal, the person that you would like to be working with shoes, okay? If you're currently working with the right people, you just need more of them, okay, put yourself in the shoes of your current clients. What problems are they experiencing right now in their life that you are in business to solve? What problems are they experiencing right now in their life that your business was created to solve? Think on it. If you need some support, I'm going to do some live coaching. So you can say, hey, Candice, I'm a blank. Help me, help a sister out. I have no idea what to write down here. And also for our friends doing a watch party, I saw your question there for breakouts. And I just want you to know, like, you have your own breakout session. You guys can have your own breakout session in person, which is super awesome. So put yourself in your client's shoes. What problems are they experiencing right now in their life that you are in business to solve? And you can use that chat if you'd like to throw something out at me, and I would be more than happy to give you some examples of problems that I think that ideal client might have. Okay. I see a brand designer here from Michigan, and I'm going to use that example while you guys are answering this question. Hang on one sec. I just lost. So Amanda Freeman's business model. So Amanda is a brand designer. And so when we think about the problems that her, excuse me, her ideal clients might be experiencing, maybe they are a little more seasoned of an entrepreneur and they've been in business a while, but they DIY'd their brand. And now they feel like everything is just like a mix match. They've been on Creative Market, they're using Canva, and like it is just kind of exploded into nothing that matches, nothing that feels cohesive. And they need someone to step in and help their brand graduate to the next level it was meant to be. And maybe Amanda comes in and that's what she does. She solves that problem for her clients. She helps her more seasoned entrepreneurs who have gotten this far on a DIY brand or on a brand that sort of like is like one of those houses that people just keep adding on to. Have you ever driven past one of those houses where it started off like cute and then they added this room and then they built up and then they built over here and now it looks crazy? Sometimes our business brands can look like that. And maybe Amanda is able to come in and sort of tear everything down and rebuild their dream house or rebuild their dream brand visually. So that can be a problem that she solves. All right. Madison says, I'm a wedding photographer in Detroit and a problem my clients face is overwhelm. I'd love for you to pinpoint exactly where they feel that overwhelm, Madison. Like, where are they overwhelmed? Are they overwhelmed in finding a photographer? Are they overwhelmed with the thought of being photographed? Are they overwhelmed with wedding planning? Like, where are they overwhelmed? Juliana, this is a great example. A big problem your client faces is not knowing how to plan a unique wedding day experience since they aren't following traditional rules. Well, maybe you are a photographer who helps them through that process. So you're going to solve that problem for them and put them at ease. Some really, really great examples here inside of the chat. Thank you guys for participating. I love the participation. So what problem does your client currently experience in their life that your business solves for them? Jot down whatever comes to mind. This can be free flowing. It doesn't need to be serious. This is for your eyes only for right now, but jot down anything that comes to mind. Do a little brain dump here. And then we're going to move on to the next question. I'm going to give it like a minute-ish, and then we'll move on to the next question. And I'm going to check out the chat. All right, so great. Amanda is in the chat, and she said you're using me as an example and hit it spot on. Good. Good, good, good. Really great answers here, guys. I'm so impressed. This is really good. All right, so the next question here is, what symptoms are they feeling as a result of these problems? And I just saw Cheryl Daniel put lack of time, resources, creativity, experience. This is giving me symptoms. So let me explain what I mean by this. Sometimes your client doesn't know they have a problem. And I'll use a doctor as an example. So like you go to the doctor and you're like, Doc, I broke my ankle. And the doctor's like, yep, you sure did break your ankle, Cheryl. And that's because like your ankle's like doing this. You literally broke your ankle. But sometimes you go to the doctor and you're like, yeah, Doc, like my ankle hurts and I'm having pain over here on the side of my leg and I'm feeling lightheaded. And you just start going through the symptoms that you're experiencing. You go to the doctor because you don't really know what your problem is and you want the doctor to diagnose your problem. And so I feel like customers are the same in for a lot of businesses. They don't necessarily know what their problem is. They just know the symptoms they're experiencing because of it. Right? So Amanda's got frustration, stuck in their own heads, needs guidance, no time. Yes, those are all great symptoms that they're experiencing. I want you to take a moment and just write down the symptoms that your clients experience because of this problem that they're struggling with. And so Maria, as an astrologer, you help your clients deal with anxiety and stress that their normal tools for self-help can't solve. So I would try to pinpoint like what are those symptoms of anxiety and stress? What are those symptoms that they're experiencing around what? Like, so are there certain instances or certain examples you can use from past clients? So for everybody here, you might be like, oh, I'm trying to think and I can't come up with an answer to this. Use a past client, maybe an ideal unicorn client that you had. Use them as an example here and describe a certain moment where you were working with them, where the symptoms of their problem manifested, or when they inquired with you, what they described their problem to be, what those symptoms were. but I want you to get into like examples of this. And so, Robin, as a doula, you solve the problem of somebody who does not, well, I don't know exactly if you are going into the hospital with your clients or you're doing home births or you're working at like a birthing center. So I think this would change based on that, but I'll just use home births as an example. Your client doesn't want to give birth in a traditional atmosphere at a hospital. They want to give birth at home. That's really meaningful to them. And they want to coach. They want somebody to be there along with them to help guide them through the process, to make the process meaningful to them, to make it special for them. But the problem is maybe they're not finding the right doula or they're not connecting with the right doula. You are the right doula because of your approach and your connection, how you help to solve their problem of finding the right person. All right, so what are the symptoms they're feeling as a result of these problems? Symptoms are really interesting. And they're like, when people are at the end of their rope, they're describing those symptoms. And they might even describe them to you when they inquire during your consultations, in your DMs, and when you onboard them as a customer, they may still be describing you those symptoms that they're feeling. The reason why this is important is we can describe these symptoms back to them. So when you're reading a good sales page or a really good sales email or a good sales caption on Instagram, somebody really understands your problem and they understand the symptoms that you're currently experiencing. It almost reads like one of those commercials for like some kind of drug that solves something, right? But they can get in your head and they're like, you might be feeling anxious and overwhelmed. You might be at the end of your rope. You loved your business so much when you started, but now you just want to burn the whole thing down. You are burned out. You need a VA. You need a business manager. Here's how I can help you, right? You might see these really great sales pages that describe back to you what you're experiencing, the symptoms of the problems that you have, right? And they're following this method. They understand the problem, the root problem, and the symptoms that you're experiencing because of it. So the next question I want you to answer is I want you to take yourself to the moment in your client's life where this problem or these problems and these symptoms, they no longer exist. They're gone. And I want you to describe in as much detail what life is like for them in that moment. And for all of you, there are plenty of moments to choose from. As for my wedding planners here, I always love to use like take your client to the moment where like you reveal the wedding to them. The ceremony's behind them. They're married. They're able to party and free up. Everybody they love's there. You know, the drama they were expecting with bridesmaid A didn't happen. So that's easy. You know, they're about to be introduced to their reception. All these months and maybe years of planning are about to culminate as they're introduced and they go into their first dance. The band is striking up. All their guests are mingling. They're looking over at table 7 and like the two single friends they sat next to each other are talking and they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. The flowers are gorgeous. The lights are dimmed. You're standing there as the planner with your cute little clipboard, ready to welcome them onto the dance floor. They're introduced, they go into their first dance, and the night is about to kick off. They're about to have the best night of their lives. And they look around and they think, oh my God, this is everything we worked so hard for. All the people we love are here. This day is meaningful. It's beautiful. It was money well spent. And we could not have done it without you. I want you to take yourself to the moment where the work you do for your client culminates. And for someone like Robin, you know, who's a doula, that might be the moment their child is born. You know, the moment the baby is rested on their chest and they have that euphoric moment of becoming a parent. It might be a few hours later when everything is good and you're about to pack up and leave them and they're just so full of joy, that feeling, that moment. It's just so overwhelmingly joyful. Describe that. Describe it in as much detail as possible. Pick the moment you want to dig into, that you want to describe, and start describing it. P.S. This is the painted wall. This is what you're selling to your client, this moment. You're not selling the number of hours you're going to give them, like I said, the 2 revisions to their brand, you know, like all the little bullet point things that that they're literally purchasing in your contract. You're not selling that. You're selling this moment. this moment in time. If anybody needs support here and help with sort of figuring out this transformative moment, ask me in the chat and I will do some live coaching here. Paulo, I'm just scaling back. You said looking to impress their peers. Status is such an incredible driver and motivator for buying behavior. People want to elevate their status and impress their peers. So I just wanted to shout you out. I mean, that's a whole nother topic for another day, but it is so interesting how people are driven by status and impressing others. So if you need some help here in coming, like in arriving at that moment in your client's life where the problem is gone and now they've had this transformative moment, let me know in the chat. For my photographers here, listen, you offer something really special. You offer people an image that they get to cherish for a lifetime and that generations will cherish thereafter. And that's really special. I shared this story when I'm illustrating this for photographers. Like when my grandmother passed away, she gave me this baby book and it's called Grandmother Remembers. And unbeknownst to me, my entire life, she wrote stuff in this book. And she attached images of those moments, her wedding day, her holding me for the first time, like all that kind of stuff. And that's a connection to someone that's so incredible. You as a photographer, you give that to people. You give that to people through your photographs so that people can maintain those connections. They can go back to those moments and relive those connections. And so you can take yourself to that moment where if you're a wedding photographer, maybe your client is flipping through their wedding album and reliving the special memories that they had that day. Maybe they're remembering someone who was at the wedding but's no longer with us, like a grandparent, a parent, a close friend, somebody really special to them. Maybe it is that hallway of photographs that, that people have in their home, that beautiful hallway of memories and mementos and school pictures and wedding photos, and your photo lives there. And every day this, the couple passes by the photo of their wedding and they're reminded of the love they shared that day. They're reminded of the connection they had all those years later. It brings a smile to their face. Take yourself to that moment in your client's life where the problem no longer exists and describe what life is like for them. And this is what you guys are going to go into your breakout sessions just brainstorming on and chatting about. Cheryl says it's the moment at which they exhale and inhale simultaneously. They release all the apprehensions, fears, and insecurities and inhale the joy, beauty, and love that is tangible in that space. I love that, Cheryl. That is like, I can physically see like the tension lifting, right? That moment of like, that's so like, I feel so good about this. Okay, so Christy says, for Joey, our content writer here at our watch party, how would he describe that moment to his client? Well, I think if he's solving the problem of writing content, like his ideal customer, so Joey, your ideal customer is not a writer. They don't know how to write, or they don't feel like they're getting across their message. You are going to take yourself to that moment where a client inquires with them. And they're like, hey, listen, you're exactly who I've been looking for. I just read your website and everything that you said spoke to me. I want to work with you. You are the right fit for my business. Like, I am ready to sign on the dotted line. They're getting business out of the work that you guys did together. And the content that you've written for them, whether it's an Instagram post or their website copy or whatever, is the true embodiment of their personality. And it helps to connect the problem that they solve for their customer and the customer to them. And that's a skill, Joey. That is a huge skill that you have, being able to do that. And so it's that moment where it all works. And people are actually hiring them and they're paying them the money that they deserve and they're booking their ideal clients and they're getting to run this incredible business that they enjoy because the messaging resonates with the right people. And they write you off a quick email and they say, hey, Joey, I just want you to know I booked another client based on that content you wrote for me. You are the best. I could have never done this without you. Alex says, mine may be too simple, but this is usually the feedback I get. My clients feel confident in their elevated service event. Their clients feel taken care of, appreciated, and special. Yes. And Alex, being one of your clients and understanding your business model a little more intimately, I would say that you might have a few different transformative moments, like because you do work with like B2B. So you work with businesses like mine and you work with wedding pros to send gifts to their clients, but you also do like wedding day welcome bags and products like that. So you may have two different sort of transformations to look at. If you're going to continue working with couples and working with them on their out of town bags, you would have a transformation for that. And then you would have a transformation for your business to business clients. In being one of your customers, I'll just share that for me, and I live overseas, so it's not easy for me to give gifts, but gifting is my love language. I love to receive and I love to give gifts. And being able to hire you to take over the full gifting experience of my business allowed me to give a tangible experience to my customer. Allowed me to have a manifestation of my business and me as a person and how I wanted to give somebody a big fat hug and say, thank you. You deserve this. That was the gift that you sent my customers. And it was like a physical manifestation of that. So in a roundabout way, what you said. Robin, I'm sorry you can't see me. You may want to exit out and come back. Okay. So now we know that we need to understand the problem that we solve for our clients. And we also know that our clients may describe their problem in a way of symptoms, the symptoms they're experiencing from that problem. And we also then know that we need to understand the transformation that we provide. We need to give our client the painted wall. And we're taking ourselves to that moment in time where our client experiences the full breadth of what we do for them, that problem is solved. And now they have this ease, joy, excitement, a fully branded experience, whatever it might be. That's so sweet, Emily. I want you guys to now come together in breakout sessions and talk about what you've put together. We're going to just do 10 minutes. It's not going to be super long. I want you to introduce yourself, share your answers, and ask for feedback. There should be 3 people to a breakout room. So I will ask that don't let somebody hog all the time. Make sure it's dispersed evenly. And ask for feedback on that painted wall that you're describing in your workbook or the problems and symptoms that you've uncovered from your ideal clients. You might find an ideal client or two inside your breakout, and you can do a little data mining, a little market research amongst yourselves. So Wendy is going to queue up the breakout rooms for us. We'll have you go off for 10 minutes, and then we'll have you meet back here, and we're going to wrap up our workshop with next steps. I'm going to tell you what you should be doing next. So exciting. And if everybody's still here, this is, I think, the first time that we're doing breakout sessions. So it might take us a minute or two to put it all together. So bear with us, give us a little bit of grace as we put this all together and Wendy does all the magic behind the scenes. So exciting. Lindsay, that's okay. If you have some earbuds, you can pop them in. You can always be muted and just listen in and offer some support. Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. Work with what you've got, sister. Thank you, Cheryl. I'm excited for your breakouts and to see what if there's something greater you come up with. These breakouts are so great because like 2 heads are always better than 1. And somebody might be able to take one look at what you wrote down and give you like an incredible idea or some crazy, awesome thing to think about. All right, so we're just trying to sort people into different rooms. The ladies are on it behind the scenes. So much goes into doing these things. Thanks, guys, for your patience. Giving you a little extra time to also like go in your workbook and maybe add something else. Jessica, we are recording this, and I'm sure that they will send a replay out or give you an option to watch the rest of it. You are welcome, Jessica. Okay, so it seems like our breakout rooms are not working out. So I guess we'll just skip that part. Sorry, guys. Sorry, team. We had all the best intentions, but we've also done some really great like connection here in the chat. So I feel like we've also, been able to flesh out ideas and go back and forth. And Q&A is definitely going to be open afterwards. So I'm happy to answer any of your questions, but there are a lot of familiar faces in here. So if you see somebody familiar, you can always sort of tap them after this and say, hey, listen, I'll share my workbook with you if you share your workbook with me, and maybe we can help each other out and support each other. Does that sound like a plan? I want to shout out Wendy and Natalie for trying to make this happen. Thank you, ladies, so much. All right. So thank you, Amanda. All right. So we're going to skip right over that, and we're going to go to our next step. So you know that you need to understand the problems you solve for their clients, what symptoms they may use to describe those problems, and the transformation you provide the painted wall. What should you do next? Cool, Candice. Now what? All right. So here are some suggestions for you. You're going to see inside of your workbook a little place for you to write down what you think you should do next. And I want you to use that. There's also a little to-do list area for you too. And I've given you a couple of little examples of things that you can go and do. But here are some things for you to consider doing next. If you were struggling here on the struggle bus, thinking, I don't know what problem I solve, I don't know what symptoms people are experiencing, and I'm not sure about the transformation, you can go and review past testimonials that clients have given you for data. When someone writes a review or a testimonial, they're going to share the thing that they valued the most, and they usually talk about the problem they were experiencing before. Thank you for letting us know, Ashley. So past testimonials can give you a lot of insight, and you can use it to data mine for some of this information. You can also schedule a couple of calls or send out a survey and ask your current clients some questions. Doing this market research with your current customers may be like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. You do want to do that. So put together a type form, a Google survey, or even schedule like a little 15-minute coffee session with one of your current customers or some of your current customers and ask them some questions relating to like, what problem were you experiencing before you reached out to me? How were you feeling before we connected or before you hired me? How do you feel now? What are you most excited about our time together, the work that we're doing together? There are a lot of great questions you can ask to suss this out from your actual customers, okay? I also want you to review your website, review your marketing materials, and just make sure that you are using this in your marketing, okay? So for marketing, for messaging, it's important that you show that transformation. In marketing, really all you have to do is keep taking people to that moment where they're at the painted wall they desire. In the images you select, in the copy that you use, in the marketing strategy you deploy, keep showing people what life is like for them after they hire you and you solve their problem. All right. You can evaluate your services and products, make sure that they are built to solve the problems of your customers. Revisit your consultation process, your sales process. Make sure you're communicating that you are here to solve these problems, to fix these symptoms, and to deliver this painted wall in the end. Update your copy on your all over the place, your sales decks, your brochures. Meet with your team to discuss. So if you have people on your team selling, or even if they're not selling, they're just supporting you, make sure that they understand this fundamental about your business. They understand that you're here to solve blank problem for your customer, and that you provide blank in a way of a painted wall. This is what we're ultimately looking to achieve. And evaluate your ideal client profiles, that fun little paragraph that we had towards the beginning of this presentation. Evaluate that and make sure that you truly do understand your ideal client and that you are adding in this information next to their Starbucks order and the car that they drive and the purse that they carry. So this is me. I'm Candice Coppola. You can connect with me at CandiceCoppola.com. Go and check me out on Instagram. I follow everybody back. I love to invest my time in you. I like, I comment, I DM. I'm so invested in you guys. So do me a favor. If you'd like to follow along in my life, you can do so on Instagram at Candice.Coppola. Please do DM me and say, hey, I'm from the Rising Tide. I just caught your June Tuesdays Together, so I know. But please go and follow me. And if you're a wedding pro looking for a business coach, you can go to CandiceCoppola.com to see how I can support you. Now, before we go, we do have some questions. And there is this great little pop-up for you to join your local Rising Tide chapter. So if you have not joined the Rising Tide and you don't know what your local chapter is all about, you can go and find your chapter here with this little pop-up. You can find all the details that you need about Rising Tide and how you can get involved locally in your community, which I have to tell you guys is so important. That networking component locally is so critical. So if you're not involved in your local chapter of Rising Tide, get involved. Relationships and opportunities come from that every single time that you guys get together. So thank you guys. I think we're going to have some questions that we're going to answer here. Thanks, Ashley and Nikisha, Natalie, Alex, and Maria. Okay, so I'm going to go over to the Q&A and answer some questions that were submitted during our conversation here and then also prior to. So the first question is from registration. I'm just starting my luxury picnic business with 3 picnics under my belt. Congratulations. And I'm just getting my Facebook and IG pages up. And I'm lost as how to drive interest and convert into booked clients as well as post ideas. Well, I'm going to go back to that painted wall. You need to show that as much as possible. So show happy people enjoying their luxury picnic. But for you and in the events business, this is, I think, really networking and brand awareness is what's going to be your secret sauce. If you're new to business, and this goes for everybody here, if you're relatively new to business, the greatest gift you can give your business is to pound that pavement and get out there and start meeting people, whether it's digitally, whether you are commenting and liking photos and following people, or whether you are joining your local chapter of the Rising Tide. If people don't know about you, they will never know to hire you. So generate interest by networking and, of course, always showing that painted wall to your followers. I would start following people on social. I would start getting involved in the events industry. I would start networking. And don't pay too much attention to how many people follow you or how many likes you get. None of that matters. What matters is that you are creating connections and building brand awareness. Okay. All right. Christy asks, so if you know your ideal client and you totally understand what problem you solve, how do you actually find those people? Where do you get those leads? Great question. This is going to depend, Christy, on your unique business. If you're still here and in the chat, just remind me of what your business does, and I might be able to personalize this a little bit more for you. But this is going to depend on your unique business. But if you want to book more of your ideal clients, you want to show that painted wall, you want to acknowledge the problems that they're experiencing and the symptoms of those problems. And then you need to get your booty out where they're hanging out. So wherever your ideal customer is hanging out online or in person. You need to get yourself there. You have to get yourself in front of your clients based on where they're hanging out. So you can actually do some market research here, connect with past customers and current customers, and ask them where they found someone like you. If you are not doing this, you know that HoneyBook allows you to track your leads, and it shows you over time like where the majority of your leads come from and how they convert. So you should be tracking your leads, and that can tell you where to invest more of your time. So if a lot of your leads are coming from Facebook ads and Instagram and those leads are converting, well, then that just goes to show you that you should maybe put some more time and effort there. If your leads are coming from word of mouth, and that just goes to show you relationships are something that you should dig into. So this is really very, I guess, it hinges on the type of business that you have. And to get the appropriate answer would be to ask your ideal customers where they found you. So, and sorry, Kiki, our awesome breakouts, it didn't happen. We got a 404 error. So unfortunately they didn't happen, but we're now into Q&A. All right. So hopefully, Christy, that answers your question. Here's another question. I just launched a membership program and I'm moving away from only one-to-one B2C clients. How can I maximize HoneyBook with this new business model? Okay. So I would encourage you to reach out to HoneyBook and chat with them about your membership business model and how you can utilize the platform with your membership business model. That would be my suggestion. So reach out to HoneyBook support and see what they can do for you by way of suggestion. What are the top 3 ways to generate leads? Okay, again, this is subjective to the type of business that you own, but I would say your best bet in generating leads are relationships, so networking, word of mouth. When people make recommendations to their friends and their family, most people follow through on exploring those recommendations. It carries a lot of weight with people. So that would be number 1. Number 2 would be SEO. So I think a majority of top quality leads will come from SEO. And if you don't know a lot about SEO, that's something to sharpen your blade on. But it's not just like having your main website rank for certain keywords. It's also creating content that people would be searching for, helpful content. Where they would find a blog post or find a podcast episode or find a YouTube video that you've created and then become immersed in your world and desire to learn more from you or desire to be in close proximity to you and want to hire you that way. And then I would say probably social media would be third for me. It is a place where you can have fun and you can experiment. And depending on your ideal customers, it's definitely where they might be hanging out a lot. So that would be the top 3 places I think you can focus your marketing efforts on to generate leads. What is the best way to deliver a freebie? So making sure that you are sending the freebie out in exchange for the email address. So somebody has to give you their email address and then you send them the freebie. And this would depend on the freebie itself. The question asker put some examples like Canva, Google Doc. I would say for a workbook like what we just experienced, isn't it so nice to just use a Google Doc and just type right in it rather than bring up a PDF and saving and printing? So it depends on what you are sending them. I think you can then choose the modality, whether that's a PDF or a Google Doc or an audio file where you might teach somebody like a podcast or a video that you might use to teach somebody a concept or introduce something to them. So it really depends on what you're sharing in that freebie. Next question, what should I do if people aren't replying to me? So if you are getting leads in the door and they're not responding to what you're sending, I think that you need to evaluate first your sales process, your connection process with your leads, understand where these leads are coming from. Maybe they're just not qualified for you. Maybe they're coming from a channel is delivering you leads and those leads are just not the people for you. Maybe they're coming from like a free directory, or maybe they're coming from a certain place that is not bringing you quality leads. So examine the root of where the leads are coming from, but also examine your sales process. Make sure that your sales process, we have a fun little resource here. Make sure that your sales process is inviting your client to connect with you and to respond to you and to take that next step. Make sure there are calls to action. Make sure that you're asking questions in those emails where you're going back and forth or where you're responding to them for the first time. And also make sure that you're following up enough. This is, I think, one of the biggest reasons why people lose the sale is they don't follow up. I'm trying to remember, I taught on this before. I think you need to follow up 8 times. Like the average salesperson needs to follow up 8 times before the sale is landed. And so if you're just following up once and saying, hey, Candice, did you get my email? And then no response, and then you just like walk away, you're really leaving a lot on the table, an opportunity. You have to recognize people are busy. They're super distracted. You never know when they got your brochure, your information, your intro email, your DM, whatever. And so it's worth following up. Your next question might be, well, how many times? This depends on your business and what you offer. But my advice would be at least 3 times, at least 3 times. Okay, what is an effective and cost-effective way for new businesses to get more leads? Relationships. Get out in your community, join Rising Tide, get out and meet people in your community and let people know about your business, what you do, who you're here to serve, and the problem that you solve. Relationships will always be the most effective and the most cost-effective way to build and grow your business. It does take time. And for anybody new in business, just understand that it takes time for people to know about you. It's just the nature of business in the game. But if you get out there, put yourself out there, try to meet new people, forge relationships, raise that brand awareness, elevate your business, make sure people know about you, they will send you business and people will come to you. All right. How can I lead capture as a startup business with very few social media followers? You don't need social media followers to be successful in business. Okay. Are there any good ways to do this without paid Facebook ads? None of my Facebook ad campaigns have been successful. I'm not an ad expert. And I encourage you, if Facebook ads are an important part of your business, to reach out to an agency or have a discussion with an expert. An expert I am not. But what I will tell you is that Facebook ads have changed drastically from the golden days where people could pump $100 into an ad and get 100 really warm leads, or, that's probably a terrible example for any ad experts on here, but long gone are those days. So much has changed when it comes to privacy, when it comes to the platform of Facebook, when it comes to the cost per conversion or the cost per click. So much has changed with ads. And Facebook ads and Instagram ads are not for every business. Not every business, I personally think, is meant to run a Facebook ad. So I guess if you want to increase your lead capture and you want to use social media to do that, my advice would be, and this is going to sound, I don't know, this is, you're probably going to be like, okay, is to create content that people want to consume. If you want to grow your social media following and you want to convert those people into customers, you need to create content on social media that people want to consume. If you want to start an email list and you want people to open up your emails, you need to write emails that people want to read. And that's not easy. Granted, it isn't, and it takes some time to find your stride. But if you keep trying and keep experimenting and keep doing it in spite of knowing all the answers or being perfect, you will get clear on how to create content that people want to consume. So hopefully that answers your question. What are some lead generation strategies that are outdated that we should stop relying on? Well, I think cold calling is outdated. And I think everybody here could agree. Nobody really appreciates getting a cold DM from a stranger trying to sell you something. It's like, slow your roll, sister. We just met. In fact, you haven't even introduced yourself and now you want my money? I don't think so. So cold calling isn't necessarily something that I think this generation of customers enjoys. I think it makes people feel their privacy is invaded, their space is invaded. It just doesn't come across the way it used to. But in order to get around that, you can dig into relationships. So instead of just cold DMing your ideal client, how about you take some time to invest in them? How about you follow them? How about you learn more about them? You pay attention, you read their posts, you comment, you like, you be supportive, and then you reach out to them after you've established a relationship. That would be the new way of doing things, I think. Is running Google or Facebook ads the best way to get inquiries, and how much should I be spending per month to see a return? I am not a ads expert, so unfortunately I don't want to answer this question because I don't want to give you bad advice. Plus, you don't want me answering that question. I have no idea. Okay, so those are the questions inside the Q&A. I'm just going to take a look here at the chat, and we're going to wrap things up. I'm so glad that you love SEO, Amanda. It really honestly is the key to my personal success, both as a wedding planner for so many years and as a business coach. I really invest in SEO. I understand how it works, and I make it a point to make that my number one strategy. I don't really post a lot of content on Instagram, and I'm in stories and stuff, but I'm not like churning out tons of content there because it is 48 hours. And as one of my students, Vanessa Hicks, who has a blogging course, says, a blog is it can last like 8 years. And I'd rather put my money in a blog post and in SEO. Christy, yes, that did get answered. And Amanda, thank you so much for recapping that. Thank you, ladies. I appreciate you both. All right. Well, that answers all of the questions here inside of our Q&A. And our chat is winding down. I think that we are good to go here. So I don't know if Natalie comes back on and says goodbye to everybody. Or if it's just me, I'm going to stop sharing my slides. Okay. All right, friends. Well, listen, you all have a great Tuesday. Thank you for making the time to be here today with me. Thank you for showing up for yourself and your business. If you have any questions that were unanswered here in today's Tuesdays Together, you can just DM me over on Instagram. Happy to chat with you over there at Candice.Coppola. And please go to CandiceCoppola.com to learn more about me. And don't forget to join your local Rising Tide chapter if you have not joined already. And be sure to download this month's guide on how to attract and win more of your ideal clients. Take care, everybody. Bye.